I just hit stopped again. There you go. All right. Well, now YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, the intros are great. Check out PARAcast, download the podcast, subscribe, do all that jazz, and you can get the intro. Sorry, started the recording a little late. Anyway, what a week it's been. What a fantastic week. I've been out there getting ready. Donitza has decided to be my helper this year, so she's coming up to be my helper and walking up all the hills, so that's pretty fantastic. So we've had these light days. My wife's been working with me for a couple hours a day. I got a new Beretta, and Kyle Rittenhouse was found to be not guilty on all 5 counts and walked away a free man. So it was a pretty bitchin' week. So
yeah, it was.
Let's get into it. What should we get into first? Should we get into Rittenhouse first?
Yeah, let's do Rittenhouse.
All right, let's do Rittenhouse. Yeah. So I think everyone who sat there and looked at the evidence, and like even unanimously the jury, the one thing that's kind of funny is when you go through it and you look at some of those things, even as a lay person, you have to go into it and then like basically it gets explained to you and shown to you over and over and over again, and they all came out with the conclusion that he was not guilty. So this wasn't like 10 people coming in, who are, you got, what would be what's the Recoil magazine? There's not 12 guys subscribing to Recoil magazine on that jury, and they came away with the not guilty. The one thing is I thought everyone was like, they're going to be in here and they're going to be out of here in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and then,
when that didn't come back after like the first day, it was like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. The second day, you're like, oh boy. The third day, you're like, well, crap.
Well, yeah. Well, the one thing is, so the first rumor that went around was the old Marshall rumor, bailiff, or like 2 people were afraid of retribution, so they were holding out. Some of the scuttlebutt was just scrolling on the Instagram that they were holding out till they felt like they were ready with their families and housing and stuff like that. If there was a recourse, then they could basically go through. But it's kind of weird. The only thing that I kind of thought after the night before in the morning of, I was like, the Rosenbaum one, that's probably going to be a not guilty right off the bat. And then
but that's the thing though, right? I mean, I was talking to my daughter about this, and if Rosenbaum is not guilty,
yeah.
If Rosenbaum is a not guilty verdict, then all the rest of them are not guilty at that point.
Well,
you can't get him on anything else.
Well, the one thing is kind of like, well, it all depends on the jury. So Rosenbaum, he grabs a gun, burns his hand, gets shot, he's dead, right? And then you think of Grosskreutz or whatever, Mr. Gage.
We call him Grosscrotch.
Grosscrotch. Well, now it's righty. So with him, like, that's a clear-cut self-defense. The one thing I was worried that they were going to come back as a guilty on Anthony Huber, who is the skateboard guy, but
that's the thing. I don't see how they could have said Huber was guilty, because I mean Huber, he committed suicide. Well, I mean the fact that Rittenhouse held the gun.
When he pulled it away,
that Huber shot himself.
I'm not saying that. What I would see as somebody who is a juror who's not really into this kind of stuff or thinking about it, thinking of like,
right.
If you had a case for anybody who was like, you could make the case that, hey, I'm trying to stop a gunman that everyone's telling me to stop, and he goes and jumps on him, thinking that he's legitimately trying to stop a mass shooter. Still his fault. If I think an undercover cop is some gun-wielding maniac, and I run up there and try to take the gun and he shoots me, that's still self-defense. He's still innocent. But I worried about the jury kind of seeing Anthony Huber as somebody else than a guy who was trying to get there. I don't know what his motivations were. We'll probably never figure out what his motivations were. But we knew what Kyle Rittenhouse's motivations were, and he attacked him in a time when Kyle Rittenhouse was being attacked. But it's very interesting when you watch those videos going back of watching Rittenhouse's eyes and how many people he's assessing to whether or not they're a threat to not shoot them. Because you just see that it's like, not him, not him, not him, not him, keep going, keep going, keep going, while these people are chasing it down. But man, what a relief. What a relief.
No, it really was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, when they said not guilty, I mean, I may have taken a deep breath and shed a little tear there, because
I was pulling up the old UPS uniform and dabbing the eyes and trying to look stone-faced for the next delivery, because that came down and it was just a big relief.
Oh, I agree. No, I agree. It's good, right? Because it basically it's kind of repudiation of all these like anti-racist BLM hucksters who basically show up and they pretend that they care for something. They just really want to burn, loot, and murder. And so it's nice. It's nice to finally see somebody showing up and a whole group of people that are like, yeah, this is our town. This is where we live. And we've already shown that the police don't care about any of us. The government doesn't care about any of us. And they're all willing just to turn us over to the mob and let the mob destroy all of our stuff. So yeah, we're now going to defend our own homes, which is how it should be. Because let's be honest, government sucks.
Well, the one thing that cuts in Rittenhouse's favor to that entire night was, one, we live in a world where everything's videotaped, right? And so everything was videotaped. But not only that, but his good Samaritan nature of putting out fires and running around and fixing ankles and doing stuff like that and having a long exposure in front of those people without pointing the weapon at them or anything else kind of showed that he was not there to cause any trouble or to cause any violence. Now,
the other thing you have to consider, though, is the fact that, and I saw somebody actually posted this and I screenshot it, but it was a really good point, is independent media and journalists, that's why Rittenhouse got off. Because, the mainstream media, they would have railroaded him. And he would be in jail today because he was not convenient to their narrative that, Black Lives Matter is just peaceful, or what do they call it, fiery but peaceful, and all these like anti-racists are just, they ain't doing nothing. No, they were a bunch of criminals. Every single person that he shot at that night, they were all criminals.
Well,
fortunately, 2 of them are dead.
No, I know, but there's a difference from who shows up to the protest and causes trouble to actual affiliation to people. So I understand, like,
the second that you stop and the second that you go from I am protesting to I'm going to destroy other people's stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, you lose any moral high ground.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is, when you have some sort of like the protest there and the people show up to do whatever they want, that's, no matter what the organization is like, that's bad. But the one thing that that is interesting to sit there and see is like the documentation that basically showed that he was there in a nonviolent nature for basically the whole night, and it was even in a nonviolent nature when he was trying not to have to shoot people to save his life. And so it was a great thing. And I think, let's say you even had a media that wasn't independent, was still lying, you would probably just have a more ginned up reaction to it, because I think there's been riots in New York and Portland, but besides that, not much else. But
yeah, the riots and stuff that
they would have definitely come after the jury.
Like 20 people show up.
Yeah.
And I think probably, number one, it's not an election year, and number two, it's cold.
Well,
and for some reason, people don't like to go out and riot when it's freezing in Wisconsin.
I think people saw the videos, and I think people got an idea of the people who he shot. And we're kind of like, they might be down for the cause, but they're not down for those guys. I mean,
I don't know about that, man, because I've seen a lot of like blue checks on Twitter claiming that Huber and Rosenbaum were victims. No, these people were criminals.
I get that. But what happens is they see that.
These are the same people that are pursuing that narrative.
I know, but they see that, and then what happens? They do this on their phone. They take their finger and they scroll up, and then they read some of the comments. And if you post Rosenthal's picture, what's number 1, 2, and 3 on the comments?
He's a child rapist.
He's a child rapist. And they go, is that true? And then they type it into Google. They go, oh, wait. Babe, we're staying home. We're not going out. Like, they got their BLM shirts on, and they're like, we're going to get some pizza. Because there's people who can be into certain causes or whatever your political affiliation is. But listen, there's not a whole lot of Americans, no matter what your political beliefs are, who see child rapists and go like, I would like to raise the fist, but for these people, I'm going to go ahead and pass. And so they just move on.
I don't know. I mean, all those lefties and Jeffrey Epstein, I think they're down with that.
Well, I'm just now that we can get this is over.
I'm just saying he still didn't kill himself.
We can get to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, which is going on right now, and we haven't heard anything about. Like, I want the beans. But anyway, what do we do in shooting this week? I'll start it off. So I sold my Masada, and then I was looking at getting in, and Nate was part of this, and Robert and Kenny were part of this, where I was going through a whole range of options of things I could get. And so I ended up going to Gunny's last Saturday, and I was looking at the gun cabinet, and I held like a Walther PDP and a Shadow Systems MR22, and I saw a Beretta that was not brown, because the optics cut is on the M9A4, and then I saw a standard 92X like Kenny Terry has with an optics cut, and I was like, a what? They're doing that with the other model. So I hopped on Beretta's website when I got home, and I started searching around, and I was like, oh, what do they call it? And believe it or not, they call it the Beretta 92X full-size RDO. And they only sell it in the full-size RDO, and so I was like, 4.7-inch barrel, just like Kenny's, down, cool. So I start looking around, I find one, and I go to this website, and it says, oh yeah, we have a Beretta 92X, 4.7-inch barrel, but they put Centurion, the Centurion model was like, Beretta doesn't even have that on their website with an RDO. So it's a 4.7-inch barrel, RDO ready, it's a full-size RDO, and so they had it with the factory G for $548, and I said, that's mine. I'm buying that. A Langdon slide is $570. So you get the slide and the gun for $540. So I went there and I bought it, and I go pick it up, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I have all my Berettas, and I'm like looking at parts and to see what they've done since there. I was like, why is my slide so much shorter? And then I compare, it's like, my slide's a little short. I think they actually shortened the slide on these. And then I pull up my barrel. I was like, why is my barrel like 0.2 of an inch shorter? And then I'm like pulling it up, and then I pull up I actually take the box, like flip the box to the side, because all the manuals don't say anything about what your gun is. I look at the serial number, and I pull it up, and then I like type it into Beretta's website, doesn't pull up. I type it into Google, and then it's like, yeah, it's a Centurion 4.5-inch barreled gun, not 4.7, 4.5. That's how Beretta saves you for concealed carry. And so I have a Beretta 92X G model RDO Centurion. So it is, I still love it. It is, that's funny, as I was sitting there doing a comparison, and it's the exact size of a Glock 17. So when you don't want to carry a full-size Beretta, you can carry the Centurion and get the absolute full-size 92X.
Looks like they put the cocking serrations on the front of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting what they've done with it. So they put the cocking serrations up on the front. They didn't do that with the standard 92Xs. They up-swooped the back of the slide like they do on the Langdons, so it doesn't come back and kind of cut you up a little bit for most Beretta shooters. So factory G. But the interesting thing is when they did the red dot cut, they managed to avoid all the parts that are basically being changed out in the Langdon gun. So that has the full firing pin block lift, and then the actual extractor pin. That's a full size extractor pin. And then when you simply remove the two plates that you go in there, you can actually see the firing pin. So there's some threads down the firing pin. My only concern would be with it is how deep those threads go, because that was
it's also the height over bore. That's what made the Langdon so much more desirable.
Yeah, so you changed, Langdon basically took the backside of the gun, changed out the parts on the backside of the gun to get it lower, and then kind of basically put the screws on one side of the slide. Beretta seems to have avoided changing all those parts, and if you're Beretta, you're like, yeah, like, let's not have twice of every parts that we're going forward. But it does seem like the depth of the threads that go into the slide hovering slightly above the firing pin, whether or not that's enough threads to sit there and hold a plate securely is good.
Have you gotten the plates yet for it?
Plate comes in on Tuesday. They are all in stock.
Is it aluminum or steel?
I think it's $29, so maybe it's an aluminum plate, but we'll have to see.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, steel or aluminum. I'll stick a magnet on it.
If it's aluminum, it's trash, and eventually it just sucks.
Well, we don't know if it's aluminum or not yet. So
well, let's cross our fingers, because that would suck. I mean, I could see him doing it, but if it's not steel, then you're just asking for long-term problems.
Well, I am sitting there. I am looking at the plate on the website, and it does not say what it is. So
it's the typical Italian mystery metal.
It's the mystery metal. So it's like we'll see exactly what it is. But I I am pleased as punch with it. Stainless barrel,
That's
trigger,
cool.
oversized magazine release. I gotta tell you, these 92X grips, the checkering they've done on those grips is absolutely fantastic. So I'm super
Yeah,
pleased as punch.
if it wasn't for being a Vertec, I like everything about it. But the new style grip that comes with the 92X to give you the wraparound, yeah, there you go. It's really nice. The stuff that originally came with the 9A3, those Hogue grips,
the garbage. Those were
they
bad.
were, yeah. I mean, not trying to be mean, they were rough though. They were not great. These new ones, they're fantastic. I absolutely love them. You don't even need to like get any other kind of grip out there because they're actually great out of the box.
Well, and the other thing that they did great out of the box are these sights that Kenny. I think they put the same ones on your 92X with the red paint front and the plain black serrated rears.
The battle hook sights
I
kind of
just
thing.
changed the front sight. I kept the same rear sight, changed front sight.
Yeah, I swear, Brett is doing it right. So I'm pleased as punch with the damn thing. I'm super excited. What trigger bar I get and throw in the gun. I was looking at Beretta's new trigger bar, the one that Kenny put in his gun, where they've just blasted it all.
Oh no, I did it the expensive way. I put the hammer and steer from the 92, then bought a Langdon kit just so I could have Langdon's trigger bar.
There you go. So we'll see what I throw into it, but I'm excited. I'll get the plate on.
I just left mine stock.
You poor kid. You poor kid.
Well, I mean, it's Langdon's stock, so it's still better than most of them out there. But to be fair, I mean, the Beretta triggers out of the box, they're heavy.
They're not bad.
But they're not bad. They're really not.
This one can be a spring kit, and it can be pretty fine. And it starts off with the D spring, but it actually feels lighter than a regular D spring is. They might be putting like 14 pounders in the guns now, but they learned a whole lot from Wilson Combat and from Langdon about how to ship a Beretta now, and they're doing it, and they're doing a freaking awesome job. And the other part too is like we used to pay a premium to get the stainless barrels, and now it seems like they're putting the stainless barrels in most everything because it's like then they don't have to chrome line them and do the hardening on them. So it's working out great. I'm loving it. Robert?
Well, I went out and I shot an indoor match with Jason's new plate, and I'm happy to say that it worked. Didn't break, so I'm sure next match it will, because this is me. But this is the first match I've shot since I got back from Georgia.
As long as the plate breaks and goes backwards, as long as it separates from the slide and goes backwards, put a 9mm 135 grain through an SRO.
There you go.
Be okay.
I don't think anybody will ever be as cool as Rob Chavis, because that is stuff of legends right there. That man, he will be 80 years old with his grandkids on his knees saying, and they're telling him, "Grandpa, tell me about the old days." Well, there I was shooting a match. The slide came off, and I shot it. Ooh, Grandpa, you're so cool.
Push the optic through the target.
But no, it was fun. It was fun. It's such a weird thing. Like every time I go to I think about setting up these indoor matches, and I'm like, oh, geez, I don't have time for that. By the time you're done with it, you're like, oh, it was a fun time.
For sure.
And Kenny came out, which is nice because I haven't seen Kenny at a match since, well, Utah State.
Yeah.
And, Kenny, in typical fashion, made us all feel bad about our life choices.
That's not true.
It's true.
Kenny brought up a Beretta match, and I'm very excited to even go try that. Whether or not
I think we should do it.
I think I would.
There's at least 3 Berettas that can show up.
Yeah, I mean, I got plenty of Berettas. It's funny is I've been pulling this Arex double action, which is 10 pounds. It's nothing.
What are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that thing now?
I don't know. We'll see. So I'm pulling that, and I'm like, oh, it's 10 pounds. And I pull this, I'm like, that's really light. And then I go get my tuned Berettas, and I pull that, and I'm like, this is an airsoft gun. This is too light. But yeah, the difference is Kenny.
Yes, I shot the match Thursday. I haven't even touched my gun since state, so that was very fun. It was still dirty from state, and still used the ammo from state.
Oh, that
leftovers.
Was me too. I went through my basement. I'm like, I need to find 200 rounds. I'm scrounging out of ammo cans just to find stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. I miss shooting USPSA, man. It get the adrenaline flowing again.
Well, you went out and shot something else, didn't you?
Yes, I shot my first major PRS match Saturday, and that was very humbling to, normally I shoot something I'm competitive and then to go to that, and I was on the super squad, and then to get my shit stomped on every stage was.
Where does this match held?
It was in outside Manti.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Yeah, so that was a mistake I made. I was like, I should get a hotel Friday night and drive up Friday night, and I was like, nah, we'll do it all Saturday morning. So like 4 hours of sleep, and then drive to Manti that morning. And then I don't eat breakfast, and I was like, "Yeah, we're setting this up for success here."
So what'd you shoot?
It was fun.
How many PRS matches have you shot?
I shot 2 club matches, none of this. Yeah.
So 10 out of 10 would do again.
Yeah, it was fun. It was totally different. Used to that internal timers telling me go fast, which results in misses in PRS.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I learned a lot of stuff. Like I said, it was cool being on a super squad just by chance and seeing how good those guys are off barriers that I am horrible off of. It was cool. It like 6.5 Creedmoor is like isolated now, or like it's. Yes, I mean you shoot 6.5 Creed, and like nobody shoots that anymore. What do you?
Why not?
Everybody's shooting 6mm something, whether it's Dasher or BR.
Is it because they can't get the rounds, or because it's just better?
Recoil.
Oh.
Like you spot your misses easier, spot your impacts.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Well,
now PRS, that's the game where they drag all those big, huge bags around with them to like prop against and stuff to give stability, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Kenny's like, I don't need this stuff. I'll just use this rock. Here's my rock. I'll use my rock.
Meanwhile, the super squad's like, sir, you can borrow this if you want.
Well, the one the one thing is, I wish Kenny would have just pulled out his pistol and charged a target and shot it. He's like, that's the way we do. That's the way we do it in my town. We charge them and we shoot them. Well, hopefully it goes well, and hopefully that poundest to ball comes out with your 6.5, which is apparently obsolete. Thanks for living, 6.5. You gave us a good 5 or 6 years of relevancy. Nate Osborne's here. What did you do? You can catch us up. Last time we heard about Nate Osborne, he bought a 1993 used USP 40.
On purpose?
Did, and I was lambasted on the show when I wasn't even there and couldn't defend myself.
I didn't lambaste you. I'm quite smitten with the idea of a 1993 police trade-in 40 caliber Heckler & Koch USP.
Yeah, and basically I'll just be keeping it stock, and once I
that's because there is no aftermarket for
it. There is a good aftermarket for it.
Well, basically the only thing I want to do to it is if I can find a LEM kit for under 150, ideally closer to 100, I will convert it to LEM because I think that's cool. And
what's a LEM kit?
So the LEM is the law enforcement module trigger, and it's essentially a DASA gun that always decocks itself. Is practically how it works.
Yeah.
And so it's essentially got the mainspring gets compressed, like a single action. However, the hammer, the physical hammer spur here, once you take your finger off the trigger, it will drop back down into this position, even though the mainspring is compressed. So then what you do is
the hammer's 2 pieces. To wrap your mind around this, you got to understand that the hammer's 2 pieces. The bottom part of the hammer is cocked, and single axe notch is on the sear. The top part of the hammer is connected to like the trigger bar or something, but like you pull the trigger, the top part of the hammer goes far enough, hooks up with the bottom part of the hammer. Well, the sear gets tripped, and the bottom part of the hammer catches the top part of the hammer, and it strikes.
Yeah, but basically, all you need to visualize is it's a DASA gun with no decocking lever, because every time you take your finger off of the trigger, it essentially quote unquote decocks itself. Now the double action trigger is very light because you're not compressing the mainspring when you're pulling the trigger. It's just basically flipping that upper part of the hammer back. It all kind of connects together, and then it drives the round forward. So what I like about it is it's a good carry trigger.
Why so?
You never be cocking it. If you ever take your finger off the trigger, you get back to that longer, like double action, quote unquote, trigger, which in Ernest Langdon's class, he talks a lot about how his trigger travel distance more than trigger weight that makes for a more forgiving or a safer trigger. So you get all of the advantage of that longer trigger pull for like a carry gun or something like that without necessarily a lot of the weight. And then the other nice thing is, so like I've got a SIG with the DAK trigger. The advantage of the LEM over that,
what is that? What is the DAK?
It's a double action only, pretty much trigger. It's a light double action
caliber.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically, the nice thing about the LEM, if you really want to get on the trigger and you're wanting to shoot, faster, you can, instead of it being like a traditional double action only, where it's all the way back, all the way forward, you can basically shoot it as a single action trigger. The reset point is fairly short, or relatively short. But then when you're ready to not shoot, finger goes off the trigger, hammer comes back down, and you're essentially in a position where you can safely holster, or you have that forgiveness of the longer trigger pull.
It's essentially, the LEM is essentially, imagine a gun that shoots like a striker fired trigger at a striker fired rate that has all the advantages and safety of a double action. So you can put your thumb on the back of it, it self-decocks, it has the length of the trigger when you need it, but when you're shooting fast, it has a short reset point of like a Glock or a single action pistol. So it's kind of...
So it's a Beretta?
No, because
it's a DASA gun with no decocker. That's all it is.
That's all it is. And so
it comes to using it.
Yeah.
So
I'd have to see it. In my mind, I cannot understand why anybody would actually like willingly make that choice. So there's got to be a compelling reason. It's probably just how well it shoots for what it is.
It's the aspect with that. I mean, yeah, it's the safety aspect of you never forget about decocking the gun because it does it automatically.
Yeah.
And it is weird though, because every time you put the only thing that's kind of keeping that trigger, that hammer from moving back is kind of like basically the trigger return spring. But like every time you touch it, you'll see the trigger, the hammer moving back and forth when you interact with the trigger. It's only when you go all the way back and then you come back. So it's got like this flappy hammer.
Okay, I've seen somebody shoot one of those guns before, and I could not figure out why in the hell he was like shooting a DA only gun. Okay, I know I've seen that gun at a match before.
So it's just the hammer is just sitting there. Every time you touch or add pressure, the hammer's just like flapping around until you actually fire, and then you're like, when you go to reset, it like flaps back, and then you fire, and you're like, this is like the most ridiculous thing ever. But you're actually just moving the trigger bar, which is moving the hammer. You feel nothing until it connects and then it fires. So it's one of these guns where it's like 100% safe, and then it actually lightens up the trigger pull. So it's like it's kind of one of those like perfect carry guns that you could handle somebody that you would want to have shoot a double action, but did not trust them enough to handle a decocker and a 12-pound trigger pull or 10-pound trigger pull up front. It's a weird.
Give this to law enforcement and the cops
because they had the double action only variant, and they're like, listen, we can't get through qualification without our freaking trigger fingers breaking, pulling 10 or 11-pound double action onlys, and so they said, aha, we'll fix this. And in 2001, I think they came out with the LEM. It's interesting trigger.
Interesting.
Because if you think really nice and light double action pulls, the first company you do not think of is the 1990s HK.
This is true. Light trigger pull is never HK, like number one on your list.
You watch some of those videos that James Williamson puts up, and it's like, okay, and now the CIP spec for a drop test is 2 meters on concrete, and you're like, a what now? 2 meters up? They're like, yes. So in case you're jumping over a wall and we drop this gun in single action mode, it better not go off. And I think like US is like 1.5 meters or something like that, or 6 feet off the ground or something marginally safe. Yeah, 2 meters on concrete. It's a joke. So yeah, those guns are
crazy.
That's the way those guns are set up. But it's pretty interesting.
Somebody demo a USP, and as they start pulling the double action, like the blood leaves their fingers.
I ended up breaking my HK45 in a bit, but when I first got that HK45, I'm just like, I mean, it's smooth, but it's like, you'll knock a bullet out of a freaking case.
That's the thing, though. I mean, the HK, I mean, like, if you just go and, like, knock, like, 1 or 2 pounds off that trigger, the gun becomes exceptionally nice to shoot.
Yes.
I mean, the double action just works.
But the funny thing is like many companies have different models or like trigger kits or trigger springs for the different guns they have. HK has two factory recommended springs, and they'll give you one, and the other one's like 2 pounds lighter than the other one. Not even in like trigger pull, but like in spring rate. So it's like probably like a half pound lighter. They're like, and this one's acceptable. It's like the Glock engineers who made the 24 round mag, and then everyone was pissed that was over 140 millimeters. Like, yeah, what do you think we were gonna do? Put it in that small of a magazine? We're engineers, not barbarians.
So that was the guy that came to the FN45 project.
Yeah. Well, how do you make it shoot flatter? Nate, go ahead and answer these questions. How do you make it shoot flatter?
Well, we made it really heavy.
How do you get 15 rounds in the magazine?
Just made the magazine really long.
There you go, and that's engineering, everybody. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Good old engineering. Anyways, if you want a well-engineered project, head on over to dominatedefense.com. Get a fantastic belt. Get a speed belt, Mach 1 speed belt. You can get a carry belt. I have them all. I love them all. Check it out. DominateDefense.com. Use promo code PARA10 and save 10% off your order. You can also head by Gallant Bullets, GallantBullets.com, and use promo code PUPRO10 and save 10% off your email's first order. And you can head over to Precision Holsters, who make a 92X performance holster, but I'm pretty sure it'll fit a standard 92.
But so can I get it with a light? I need a light. You can't get it with a light.
You can't. No. I'm sorry, Robert. You joined the wrong. You live in the heyday of the golden era of the Beretta. In 2014, if I wanted a Beretta holster with a light, I would have to go around and like scour Safariland SKU numbers. Okay, maybe this one could do it. This one could do it. This is like with the decoder ring, thinking I could find one. Now you get a light and a red dot.
I need a holster in left hand that I can have my bedside gun. I can put it in a holster for the bed. That works perfectly. Just get me that small thing. That's all I want. Very easy going here.
I think you're in Blackhawk Omnivore territory at that point. When you're looking at like the mod light, floodlight, and stuff like that, you're like, okay, I've given up.
I've got the Omnivore, and honestly, if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. But I like that setup. I mean, I finally have a bedside gun that I'm really happy with. That's not the AR. I think it's a fantastic gun.
Yep.
I forgot you've got the red dot on it. I think we were talking about that before. I feel like now the Beretta, the company, and not just Ernest Langdon, as good as those are, but now that Beretta itself is doing the A4 with the optics cut, I feel like it's only a matter of time before Safariland comes out with the red dot and light holsters. And it's just kind of been the pattern. Once Glock did it, they came out with that. Once Sig did it with the 320.
Yeah.
I have to wait.
I hope you're right, but I'll wait if I have to. But it sure would be nice just to have. It would be fun to show up to a match and shoot the gun that I actually am going to protect the house with. Essentially, there's a certain appeal to me for that.
Are you needing? Is retention a requirement for you in that particular holster? I mean, if it's going to be bedside and competition,
it doesn't have to be retention. It really doesn't have to be a retention thing. It's just one of those things that would just be nice.
You can check it.
If it doesn't, the floodlight, that'll fit it.
Which one?
The Filster floodlight. They started with IWB, but now they've got the OWB one, and it's honestly it's pretty slick. Like I've got an IWB one. But OWB, the other nice thing is, if you have a setup like that, it's just a matter of putting the light on it, and you can put basically any handgun you own in there.
Yeah.
Well,
so if you want the most competitive and put a flashlight on your Shadow too, then
I've done that. It makes this gun so effing heavy.
It's hard to hold up. It's like a grandma.
I put Kevin Isaac's his tungsten battery weights on it. and the gun, I mean, it doesn't move. I mean, it's stupid, but at the same time, I mean, it's nice because I don't have to like get like the 20-pound barbells out to exercise in the morning. I just dry fire. It's like it totally solves it.
Well, I went to anrholsters.com and got this. They make an AREX 01 tactical compact holster for a red dot and a light. And so if you're not looking for retention, they can probably make you one also. But check out Precision Holsters, Fast Holsters, the best damn competition holster out there. Period.
They are nice.
It's true.
They are nice.
I'm gonna buy another one with my own damn money. Like I prefer it. I love it. It's great, especially if it fits 92X. And then me and Kenny will be rolling. Just sitting there. Because Kenny's shooting carry optics all next year, so everyone who's a sweat lord and wants to come after Kenny Terry, he'll be in carry optics.
Everybody and their brother-in-law is shooting carry optics anymore.
I know, it's great.
Every other division is dead.
Dead. They're all dead. We don't even call it USPSA anymore. What we call it, you come into the carry optics match on Saturday, you say yes. I'm coming. I'm showing up there. Also, you can talk about carry optics on Telegram. Download Telegram, search the PARAcast, and you can find us. We have the come and take it little thing on there. And you can click on us and you can ask us questions. So here's the deal. The Telegram chat, we love that you guys are having fun and talking in there. But when we post for questions and we're asking you guys for questions, please not try to have a big old sweat lord chat with everybody posting memes and answers. I'm fine with it too.
I'm totally okay with it.
But now there's like 47 posts we got to search for 6 questions.
No, I got this all figured out. I just screenshotted it, drug it into another window. It was perfect.
6 gigabytes of data later, we got questions for our show. Bada bing. Robert hit it.
If they're willing to talk in there, then I'm willing to dig through it to find the questions.
Hey, it's encrypted, baby. Feel free. Say what you want.
Encrypted, you say? Oh wait. Keep that racist talk to yourself, Robert. From one Nate Osborne, if you have to pick just one, what has been each of your favorite memes from the trial?
Nate, you asked the question, so you started off with your favorite.
Well, I think the most appropriate answer to say is, seeing as it was my question, I will recuse myself.
Oh, I taking the fifth. I find.
Wait, you recuse yourself?
Not the fact that I'm pleading the fifth.
We're gonna hold
recusing yourself. That should be called like pulling a Hopkins.
We'll try to hold your silence against you. I find there's been a bunch of the funny ones, but
you get brazen with me.
the one that's funny is just the Heat one with Bellinger with the rifle superimposed over Val Kilmer. Even though I find it sacrilegious to my favorite movie of all time, Heat, I can't help but sometimes chuckle because of how well it's done. Even when Val Kilmer's running to behind the car and he just has it canted, and then he pops up and it's cat. It's like that one's gonna live on for a long time.
I like the one that I really like. It has Avril Lavigne in the top frame, and it says he was a skater boy, and then the bottom frame it has Rittenhouse and it says was.
The other good one I saw, I mean, if literally the one he's been posting a lot is James Yeager Tactical Response. He's got a bunch. He's like got one every 15 minutes. But this just in, Kyle Rittenhouse found guilty after they found a bunch more votes at 3 a.m. And so it's there's a bunch of good ones going out there. Kenny, did you have a favorite?
No.
Kenny's been working.
Aww.
Kenny in our private Instagram chat pops in about every once a week or so to say something that's actually useful, and then he scatters back.
I saw one this morning when I woke up. It was the difference between Rittenhouse and the vaccine is that Kyle's shots were effective.
No, I was going to say it was funny on the chat, nothing from Kenny for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, Tom randomly posts, "We should do a Beretta match." And immediately, Kenny's like, "Yes, that would be great."
Well, Kenny props the Beretta match because me and Robert are having a debate whether or not the Langdon gun is worth 3 times as much as the RDO from Beretta.
It is.
Kenny turns like, here's my deal. Like, this is the problem that I have discussing the things I want to do in the chat, because I'm gonna get like Kenny's not there to defend me, and I'm gonna get absolutely a ton of bullshit from Robert. So I buy a 92X. What do I get? Langdon gun's better. Optic height's too far. Go eat a penis, Thomas. And then I'm like.
I was trying so hard like to come up with things to like say that your side, and it's like, okay, come on, something else.
The problem is like I had the Langdon slide like notify me later when one comes in. I'll just buy a Langdon slide. I'll put my brake tack barrel in it, and like I'll just do that. That will be really cool. And then I saw this, and then I'm sitting here, I'm like looking for a dot, and if I don't put an SRO on this, I'm gonna get a bunch of crap from Robert, but. There's another dot I'm interested in getting that Kenny vouches for, but if I show it on this show, I'm dead. I'm a dead man. I can't win.
The proper dot that should go on it, not that SRO crap.
That's right. That's right. And my good buddy Kenny can get me a deal.
You know this guy named Robert who breaks everything. Let's see. What dot has he not broke? Oh, the SRO.
No.
What dot is like subpar in quality? Yes, the SRO.
No.
See, this is what's going to happen.
As opposed to the RTS?
Yeah.
But Dad Kenny's not going to be here to defend me on the chat because he's too busy working.
You know why Kenny likes the RTS so much? Because it's cheap, so when he breaks it, he can just get another one.
I've never broke one.
He's never broke one. Like I don't know. I am interested in an 8 MOA dot. I think like that could be
That's pretty cool.
The jam. And it's got the big window. And so it's like, and then, Kenny can help me with it, and Kenny's had good experience with it. And they make a damn plate for it, and it's in stock. So I might try
it. They make a plate for
it.
it. They make a plate for it because nobody wants the RTS.
They got to use it because they got all those European shooters. Even though the new 92Xs, all made in America, that's where you can find them. So.
Did you like on the Beretta advertising of the new RDO? It's like, okay, we really need to show this as like a high performance piece of equipment. What are we going to do? Let's put a Burris on the top of all our.
I know. Please.
Well, it's because marketing's like, hey, it says fast fire, fast. Yeah, that's totally
I highly doubt it. I literally think they go to the warehouse and they go like, hey, which one of you guys has a red dot on your handgun? And then like Bobby puts his hand up and he's 22 years old. It's his first handgun from college and he runs up there and he goes, what do you got on that? And they put it on there. They're like, that's a red dot on a handgun. Burris Fast Fire. Vortex Venom. Go to any manufacturer's website. How often from like Smith & Wesson or Glock or whatever. And how many times do they have like the most baller cutting edge optic? They don't even have like midline. Like you're lucky if they show an RMR on it. It's Burris Fast Fire and Vortex Venom. That's what they show on top of their gun.
Well, it's because the marketing directors are lucky if they actually put the bullets in the correct direction.
Well, if nice HK reference also, but
thanks for picking that up. I really do appreciate that.
When they do the Centurion photo shoot, when Tom's gun finally goes up on the website, they can be like, well, it's for concealed carry. So what can we put on there that's going to say like concealed carry, small portability? They're going to buy that flip up NC Star red dot, and that's going to be the
throw it up on it. Yeah, we'll see. But I am looking to put an RTS2 possibly on it.
The marketing guy video, like it's going to be some tatted up camouflage guy that's obviously gray man, and he'll like go for the gun and then in slow mo as he draws it out, like the NC Star thing is like opens up.
Oh my god!
So
it's like,
cool.
Have you seen that video on YouTube, which is like Steven Seagal handles firearms, and he's like going through with the M4, and it's like he's like changing shoulders, and it's all sloppy, and his like muzzle's going everywhere, and then he has like the stock above his shoulder. It's gonna look like that, but at least the gun will look somewhat cool besides the NC Star.
From Mark Brando, when milling a slide for an optic, what are the pros and cons of the rear iron being in front of the optic or behind the optic? Do you guys have preferences? Also, was it Jaeger Works that Tom had his slide milled?
Okay.
I don't know for the life of me why you would ever put the irons. I know you did it, but I don't know why you would ever put the irons in front of the optic. That seems so pointless.
So, a couple things here. So one, having the optic farther to the rear, that's the way you'd basically cut it if you just wanted to have one optic on the gun the whole time. Having the backup irons in front gives you a couple things. So when you have the backup irons and they're actually behind the optic, So they're behind the optic, they're closer to your eye, they look bigger. But two, because they're farther back in the sight radius, they actually have to use a taller front sight than they would have if you put them up front. So this would be like a 325 tall rear sight. This is a 265 tall rear sight when it's placed in front of the optic. But anyway, when you have that tall optic back there for like a carry gun, you start blocking out a little bit more of the window.
But you've already blocked it out.
Hold on, though. So on the RMR, this part's already basically blocked out, but when you have the taller rear, you're blocking more of the optic out. When you actually go to the front of the optics are barely taller than the housing that's in back of there. So you only really see, and I took a picture and put this on the Telegram chat, as you see, you only see a very fraction of the top of the iron sights, because one, this is a shorter rear sight than it would be if it was in back, and two, most of the rear sight is being hized by the housing of the optic to begin with. So, and the iron sights are farther away from your eye, thus making them appear even smaller than they would be if they are all the way to the back. So one, you're maximizing the window space. Two, you're putting a smaller rear sight on, and you're putting that smaller rear sight on that's being blocked by the housing of the optic, and it's farther away from your eye. So when you're actually looking at it as a backup iron sight, it is about the best way to do it. It does have a very short sight radius. It's about the same sight radius as the Glock 26 when you do something like that on the gun for like a Glock 17. But the irons hide very well. I mean, they're barely noticeable when you have them set up in that position. So when you grab a pair of iron sights like on a Glock MOS and they put the lower third co-witness sights on and you look through like an RMR or something like that, like it's a lot more real estate of that window that's being taken up. So
it seems to me that you could have a lot more available real estate of your optic window if you just got rid of the sights anyway and learned how to point shoot.
Yes, but I think Mark was talking about having these for carry.
But even still, I mean, the nice thing about that RMR is you can actually aim with those what do they call those things? The little fins on top of the RMR. Yeah, people do it.
You can aim with them, but the one thing that I find that's kind of nice for them for in a carry situation is like iron sights are their electronic sights are about as dependable as you put them in the correct setting when. So if you have it in the Trigicon's auto mode or you have it at maximum brightness and you run that all the time, then like fine. But sometimes you might have the dot in a condition that you might not have checked for the lighting that you're in. And you always have the iron sights and they're there. And like if the red dot fails and it's dark, I always have the contrast of the light and the iron sights and I can go there and use them. Now, if I put a bigger dot on it on the same footprint like the Holosun or the SRO, I would still be only losing a very minimal part of the bottom part of the window. So that's the benefit of it. I mean, if you're competition shooting, you want all the window, don't put them on. But if you're going to send a gun to get milled, I mean, for most places, I think Jaeger Works charges $10 to have the irons placed up front and will only charge you $60 to buy the sights and install them. So Jared Stepp recommended it to me. I said, what the hell, I'm building a gun. I did it. And now every time I handle a Glock that has irons on the rear as a backup, it's like, it's like having like a frame-mounted decocker that just depends on the firing pin block to stop it. It's just like, it's kind of like that, a little bit. That I'm jealous.
From Sean Edmonds, does anyone have a Micro 9 actually carry with a small mag in it? I don't even know what a Micro 9 is. It's probably some single action gun or something.
I think he's talking about the Shield Pluses, the 320s. Not 320s, the 365s and all those.
A Micro 9, like a subcompact.
Who carries with the small mag actually in it?
Ooh,
Robert was
would
thinking
you?
Or something. It's like, would you do that?
Yeah. Oh, huh.
Well, because everyone wants them because the small. Kenny carries the Glock 27 with the small mag in it.
Yep.
I don't know. I have my. I don't know why I would ever want to. The Shield in particular. It works perfectly with that extension in there. I mean, you basically in my hands. It's a full size grip, so it's hard to want to put the other one in there. I mean, I know you can, but Gosh, I don't see the reason for it.
It's all about how much you can actually conceal, and if you conceal the gun with more bullets in it, then conceal the gun with more bullets in it.
That shield in my case, it conceals very easily.
Yeah,
I mean it's
so why would you need it small? Why would you need it smaller?
Right.
So,
all right, from Dirk Hopkins, what's the most ridiculous gun or gun-related item / training aid you have ever
let's start with Kenny Terry.
I thought about this one, and I couldn't think of a ridiculous one.
Well,
I bought some dumb stuff, but they all made me motivated to dry fire at that point in time, so they were worth it.
What's one of the dumbest things you bought? Even if it motivated
I can't remember who made it, but that stupid little fake bullet you put in there, it shoots a laser when you pull the trigger.
The Laser Max.
Yeah. The Laser Max. Think about it, that thing was absolute waste, like $60, but it sure made me dry fire quite a bit when I got it, so it was worth it.
You wanted to hear my Laser Max 9mm laser cartridge experience? Yeah. So for my 30th birthday, my wife bought me a SIG P250. Okay, and so I'm sitting there, I'm messing around with the garage, and I put the laser bullet in the P250, and it's a double action gun with a laser bullet. So every time you pull the trigger, it strikes and shins the laser. Like, that's pretty cool. I'll train with this. That's kind of neat. And I start doing it, and I notice that the laser is projecting like 3 inches or 4 inches right of where the sights are, and so I'm like, damn, my sights are off. I should drift these. And so I go and I drift. Yeah, here we go. And so this is inside your house. So it's like 4 inches. Sorry, the SIG P250, the rear slide is cut out of the rear sights are cut out of the slide. So I drift the front. Okay. Then I go do this MAG Masada U Group instructors course, and like we're shooting these classifiers, and I'm shooting this at like 15 yards, and I am off. I am just down 3 in that piece of shit target, just like shoulder. And then the instructors are coming up to me and they're giving me all this stuff like, you should do this. I'm like, dude, it's my front sight. My front sight's off. But it's just off. And I'm literally sitting there and I'm just like, how dumb am I? And then I pull out the laser cartridge next time I see it, and like one of the O-rings is warped on the back, and I'm just like, okay. All right. You got me, Laser Max. That's why no one ever buys Laser Max products. But yeah, jeez. I've been down that road.
I have a Rossi Ranch Hand chambered in .45 Colt, and it's the dumbest thing I own, and it's the absolute most funnest gun I have.
But it's not a product you get for training or for dry fire.
Well, he said ridiculous gun or gun related, and I'm just going with gun. But no, oh god, yeah, dude, it's right here. I've got one. Yeah, it's still in the package because I've never once used it. I think I pulled it off a prize table a while back, and they're pointless. There's no value in them. I mean, I've used them, and like with a double action gun, it just teaches you to double action everything, which is the stupidest thing you can do. I mean, yeah. You have the one double action to get it out of the way, and then you just rail the trigger in single.
Nate?
Well, I think the dumbest thing gun-related that I've got is I kept buying cheap reloading tools to try to trim brass and try to swage primer pockets. So I will go ahead now and recommend everybody who has any remote interest in trimming brass or swaging primer pockets do not buy the orange anodized Lyman handle thing.
Oh, yeah.
The thing, the whatever it is. If you want to swage, go buy the Dillon one if you want to do it kind of quick, but slower, or buy it on the press, or buy things. It's not like a cheap little gimmick. Just go buy it right the first time. You will, wrists and your sanity will thank you.
Nate, I have a Lee 9mm trimming cutter. Because when I first got into reloading, I thought you had to trim 9mm.
This is going to be something I'm going to be using the whole time.
It's just like, why would you get that?
I don't know.
It said I needed it.
You run like 1,000 pieces of brass through, and one of them, like, you have a little shave on the side. You're like, oh, glad I bought this.
Dude. Wow.
They're all uniform now.
You're all talking to people. Do you shave your what do you use to shave your 9mm press? I don't shave it. You're just like, man, good thing I didn't get advice from these guys. I'm doing this right. I'm doing it right.
I remember there was a guy that would shoot at the farm.
Millimeter.
Get that.
There was a guy that used to shoot at the farm, and he would he would true his flash pockets out of his 40 Smith & Wesson. And I'm like, really?
What?
Yeah.
Some people like, hey, if what the manual says, that little diagram, they're like, we're doing it that way. I'm not blowing up a gun. And so it just becomes this deal. Yeah, what would I say? This is the lamest training aid I ever got. I bought a blue gun. So I bought this blue gun from the Beretta website. I think they're still on the Beretta website. And it comes with 2 plastic magazines. So it's a blue gun that lets you eject blue plastic fake magazines. The blue plastic fake magazines are cool because those will actually fit into your regular Beretta, and you can kind of have them as a dry fire magazine, except for they're super heavy and they'll smash the ground. And so it's like, do you want to drop full magazines on your ground when you're dry firing? Not really. And so, yeah, that was the dumbest thing. And then the other thing that did it just as well was the actual gun. It did everything better than that blue gun did, so that was kind of dumb.
But. From JC, 2 brothers named Sam and Sal asked if I'd be willing to protect their car dealership. Do you think this could be a good opportunity for me to get into the private security industry? I don't know. Those dudes would probably lie on the stand about you.
Well, or claim they didn't know how much it actually cost them. The other part is, remember when their second and third lot burned? Oh, wait, it didn't.
All I know is when I was sitting there listening to them on the stand, I kind of thought like they maybe were retarded.
Well, here's
I really did, because I mean, just hearing them try and like answer the questions, I'm like, did the prosecution put these people on purpose? Because they are clearly not there.
Well, here's the deal with those guys. So imagine like you told some people with rifles after you. So it's like you've had the worst day of your business career you've ever had. Your parking lot got burned. Then some people say, do you want us to protect the other ones? And they got guns, and you're like, yes, for the love of God, go protect them. Then the guy gets in an incident where he shoots 3 people. And it's the biggest trial, out there, and you're being televised. And you're just like, what are you thinking the whole time you're on the stand? It's like, look, I'm not on anyone's team. Don't burn my car lot. Like, don't burn the other 2 car lots. It's like, whatever, I'll answer this question in whatever way doesn't make me look like I'm on anyone's team. I'm just a regular, hardworking guy from India or whatever, and my brother's cool, and like, don't burn our lots. So that's like, you see, when you look at that context, you look at every answer being like, yes, how much did you lose? Well, I don't know how much we lost. No, but at the time. Well, we didn't know at the time, but how much do you know now? And it's like this 5-minute thing is like, it's $222,000 we lost in that car fire. It's like, but we're not blaming anybody. Hey, stuff happens.
From Lee Caldwell, with Carry Optics being the new hot mistress of USPSA and production is dead, do you really believe production will go away locally? It seems like production is the most friendly to new shooters. Bring your gun and shoot. Production's dead. All iron sight divisions are dead. They're not coming back. It's just a matter of time.
Well, you can go F yourself about that one. But...
Look, all I'm saying is next year when they go and get rid of the major scoring, and it's all 9mm, all those people with 40 guns, actually that's me and Nate and Kenny. Crap. Nobody's going to use them anymore.
I think one of the best things that could happen to limit it is honestly if they got rid of the 40 caliber.
You shut the hell up.
Hear me out. Hear me out, Mr. Terry. Hear me out. Because then everyone could just shoot 9, and it would still be an awesome competitive division without major hit factor, and without having to sit there and like get as much 40 caliber stuff to sit there and load. Because honestly, every year, 40 brass seems to be the rarest thing to when I pick up brass, I'm finding more 38 super cartridge than I am finding 40 caliber cartridges off it. Like honestly, unless you're in some
I have buckets of 40 Smith & Wesson. You go to the farm and shoot a lot. Go to Uspsa, and there's 40 all over the place to the point where you're just like throwing it into other berms. The reason why is because the 1 or 2 people who still shoot 40, they don't pick it up. They just leave it there for the vultures to find.
Yeah. But
I'm not wrong, Kenny. You know I'm not wrong.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
There's a bunch of, like, when you see it in a match, it's almost like if you pick up brass during the match, like there's almost no 40 caliber to be had. So
why is it everybody that doesn't shoot 40 says 40 shoot away?
I'm not saying it should go away. I'm saying it'd be easier for everyone else if it did. That's all I'm saying. It'd be
it's just
easy.
easy for me right now. I already have the guns, ammo, brass.
I think it's just the realization that the whole idea of power factor, being a playing into that doesn't have the same weight as it once used to. Just because, I mean, the gun manufacturers have gotten really good at manufacturing 40 Smith & Wesson 2011s that recoil exceptionally well. They run, and so you're starting to look at participation rates that minor is, I mean, by the numbers, minor is much more populated in limited than the major guns are. I don't know. The fact that the FBI officially canned 40 as a viable cartridge, which caused all the law enforcement to go over. Now the only reason for 40's existence objectively is people who still own a 40 Smith & Wesson, and they're just like, they're not going to get rid of it, and people in our game who are playing it. And I understand it. I mean, I don't hate 40. I've got a lot of 40 stuff.
It's a great cartridge. That's a freaking great
what
cartridge.
Matches are you seeing there's more minor than major in
nationally? If you look at participation rates, minor, there are more people shooting limited minor than there are limited major. That's according to the what do they call it, the survey poll thing, whatever that they do.
Well, that's only at nationals, right?
No. That's participation rates annually. At nationals, nationals and major matches, that's going to attract a certain type of person, somebody like you, Kenny, who is committed to shooting, and so they're going to bring the major guns, and that makes sense. But that is a small subset of what USPSA is. The people who go to these big major matches statistically represent like 10% of the entire organization.
Yeah, but just saying limited minor is more nationally. Well, of course, all the new shooters are going to shoot limited minor. I mean, realistically, a new shooter, that's where they should shoot. They shouldn't shoot production.
100.
Fill your mag, go shoot it. So everybody that owns a Glock
totally
17 is just going to be.
Yep.
And what you're going to see now, I'd be willing to bet, is that Carry Optics is going to further. I mean, it's already destroyed production. I think it's coming after limited, hard and fast. Basically, anything with an iron sight is. I mean,
if one of them stays limited,
dead.
it will be the one.
It's not dead, but Carry Optics is really beaten on a lot of divisions right now, just because it gives everybody what they want. I mean, inexpensive ammo, you can fill them up, a very easy aiming system. It kind of it makes people who just want to show up there as a weekend warrior just come out, they have a great time, and go home, mow the lawn or whatever. I don't know. So many of these iron sight divisions, I think the writing's on the wall for them. From Alex Mansfield, what do you guys use to carry your stuff around at the range? Currently, I've been looking at a Zuka cart and a DAA medium backpack.
Kenny?
So I don't know if the DAA backpack's gotten better, but I've had 2 of them, and neither of them lasted me more than about 3 months.
Wow.
I use the Safariland backpack now, and I've had it since it first came out, so it's at 3 years now. That's all I use. I just a backpack. If I can't put it in my bag or on my bag, I'm not carrying it.
Right on.
I use a Costco wagon in a competition. What is it? Competition Dynamics or whatever. I ended up winning one of their big bags off of a prize table at Utah State a couple years ago.
Competition Dynamics.
Yeah, Competition Dynamics with the inner bag, and it works great. I really dig the thing. It seems to work well. It's got the plastic liner on the bottom of it, so you can pull that out, keeps it shaped. Got great pockets. Carries 7 magazines or 8 magazines in the side pockets. It's got enough room to hold it. It's light, it's sturdy, it's well made. It's lasted me a couple of years. Super happy with it. So
a long time ago, there was this podcast called Triangle Tactical. There's this guy was Lucas Apps, and he talked about how people show up to these local matches and they bring and don't take this wrong, they bring like the Costco cart or this big huge backpack filled with all their crap, and then they schlep it from range or from bay to bay, and in reality they use 1 or 2 things out of it, the entire thing. They put their magazines in, they store their ammo, and he's like, why don't you just take a small bag and then leave everything else in the car for all your stuff? And I kind of took that idea, and I've gone through a number of bags over the years, but traveling around, having to fly on airplanes, the thing that I actually found has been working really well is 511 makes, it's just one of those like single sling bags. It's got a compartment where I can throw the gun in there. I'll generally keep my backup in the car while I'm at the range. I can throw some bullets in there, and I'm off to the races. It's small, it's compact, and it's pretty light for everything I want to do. I don't know that that's right or wrong. I think everybody has their opinion on what is a good backpack and what isn't, or what works for them, and it's kind of personal preference, I guess.
It really is.
Yeah.
I like having the cooler, and I like to sit on it. Nate, do you carry anything to the range? All CCW all the time.
Piggly Wiggly bag.
Like the Iron Man division, whatever. You have to carry everything on your person. No, I'm of a similar mind to Robert, so I won't belabor the point. That's basically what I do. Small bag, keep everything else in the car.
Last question from Ruben Garcia. What is the best way to store my ammo for the 2022 USPSA season? I've run out of ammo cans. Home Depot buckets, totes, much more cans.
5-gallon buckets.
I've heard a lot of people do 5-gallon buckets. I like Cody Axon does that. I think. Do you, Kenny?
Yeah. Just Lowe's buckets and fill them up, put a lid on it.
Okay, so here's the question: would that change if you live in California with like high humidity? Do you think that matters? I mean, I'm actually asking. I really don't know.
I don't know. You can put a seal on them, so I'd assume as long as you put the seal on the lid, it should be fine. I would assume.
Yeah, that's true.
Or just go to Payless Shoes and take all the little moisture packets out of all the shoes you can find, and then just toss those in there. You'll be all right.
I think it was Brian Bolivar said that you can actually take hand warmers because they run on oxygen. So you throw those into bags, like the big Mylar bags.
Yeah.
They talked about it for like food preparation, stuff like that. But you could take and throw those in there, and they would actually suck all the air out of that stuff, and it would help it would dry things out. I don't know how true it is, but I think it was him that said that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Is that it? That's it. That's a show. All. Wow, look at that. Look at what all we did. Look at what all we did for you guys for free.
The end of 556. The same round that he slotted 2 commies with.
And made the other one pleasure himself left-handed. So anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. We really appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we appreciate you guys downloading, listening to the show. Check out the sponsors. Do all that fun stuff for Robert Wyatt, Kenny Terry, and Nate Osborne. I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.
Rub.
Somebody got it in.
That's what she said.